Right, we are recording. So, none of this like chatting before the podcast records. We've got to hit record, and we're having some good conversations, and I need to get it recorded. Otherwise, we'll have a 5 minute podcast. Right. Welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast, James Nobles.
Hello, nice to be on.
So you are a returning guest. So that basically makes you a friend of the show now. That you're officially like returning,
Yeah,
repeat.
it very
Repeat
much felt it
friend
when we
now.
were just having that catch up then. Yeah, felt like friends having a quick catch up.
That's it. Yeah. So we were talking about people's different approaches to training for the spine, and yeah, without dropping people in it, we're sort of saying how everybody seems to have a different approach, but some have some wildly different approaches. So before we talk about I was going to say, what are we going to talk about tonight? We're talking about the Cheviot Goat, or mainly we're here to talk about the spine, aren't we? But firstly, I want you to talk about the goat and how that went. So firstly, how are you recovering?
Fine, fine. It was my intention going into that race was like to kind of, almost like see it as a bit of a dry run ish for the spine. So I had a bit of kit with me. Like I was just testing a few bits of kit out for the spine. Obviously, it was a lot quicker than the spine. And as much as anything, I just wanted to see like where my body was and how things were at. So I went I went fairly hard, but I certainly didn't bury myself. So when it came to the recovery afterwards, I had I think two days off and then just got straight back, not straight back into it, but then I did a sort of a few 5 milers, maybe like a 8 miler, and then at the weekend it was pretty much back into like full training, and then this week is really back into the training. So no, on the whole, it was really good. I think I got greater DOMs. Like I went to the gym last Wednesday, and I've been hobbling around a little bit after that. So that had much more of a negative impact on the body than doing the goat did.
What are you like with weight training then? Are you kind of like because how I approach it is like I go every week at least once. I try and go twice, and I go as heavy as I can. But I notice that if I miss a few weeks and then try and go back and do something that I did before, I really feel it. What's your sort of approach for weights?
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I was shocked that I had like such bad DOMs, and I'm not like it's those DOMs where like you're walking around and it feels really tender, particularly like in the groins from doing I don't know like squats and things. So I've just been really like sheepishly walking about for the last few days. But yeah, so I had about I think a couple of weeks taper before the goat, and then I had like an easier week last week. So that's kind of 3 weeks without or at least 2 weeks without really doing any proper gym work. And then I went back kind of with a bang last week. And yeah, I was paying the price. But I try get like maybe a couple of times a week if I can. And then I do like core work and things at home. So between like two sessions in the gym and then two at home each week.
You ever do any upper body stuff, or is it just legs?
No, I do predominantly legs in the gym. So like I'll use like the deadlifts and the squat rack and things such as that. And then I've got a pull-up bar at home. And so I use that quite a lot. So just different variations on pull-ups. And that's predominantly it really. Like I don't do much more other than pull-ups, but just trying to get like a partially stronger upper body just for the amount of pole work that's going to be required. Trudging up north to the Scottish borders.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I know.
Do you do any?
I miss when I go, I just purely do just purely legs. But I realised that I mean, I've got a physical job anyway. My day job is, like hauling bits of machines around and stuff. So I do a lot of lifting in the day anyway. So I don't struggle for upper body strength per se. But yeah, like you say, I miss now having. I used to have a chin up bar in the garden. So my girls are like teenagers now. So they're like 12 and 13, but they used to have a big wooden swing set in the garden. And I made a pull-up bar that like bolted to the top of it. So
Yeah,
like between
yeah.
the swings and the top. So if I was ever in the garden, like just in the summer doing a job or something, I'd like just hop on it and do like pull-ups. And I kind of
But what
got
about
like,
in winter?
and in winter as well, yeah, yeah, just like randomly go if if I went outside at the weekend, I would like put a few pull-ups on it. Put that summer, I think, the summer before, and I realized I kind of been some there and just go and do a pull-up on it. I don't like doing it in the gym. Just I don't know why. Yeah, I'd rather just go in and just use the equipment that I know I've got at home, which is like big heavy weights and do some squats and some Bulgarian squats. They're painful.
Yeah, I've got no idea what they're all called, but I've just got a routine that I just cycle through. Yeah, every time I go, and hopefully just increase the weight a little bit and decrease the reps over the last few weeks. Oh,
Okay, so we are recording again. So my internet's a bit wonky. So we were just talking about the gym, weren't we? Basically, and just saying how we're both regular at the gym. So that's like a big tick for both of us doing us.
well, let's hope so. Let's hope it pays off.
So we'll see what happens. I definitely feel the strongest I've ever been because I always neglected strength work. I always did a bit of conditioning and like mobility, like at home. Like I was always doing stretches and bit of mobility work, but strength work was always a thing that I kind of neglected a little bit. So I know my legs are as strong as they probably can be. Although I do get some funny looks when I'm doing. If they see me put pictures on of doing those tibialis raises with the
Yeah,
kettlebell on the end of my foot,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
sit on a bench and do it, and then you get some funny looks doing that.
I was doing those the other day, and it feels like I've destroyed my shins. But no,
It's fun.
it's little things like this that I think over such a long duration, hopefully, like you've really strengthened all those parts of the body that are
Yeah,
susceptible to these kind of
yeah.
repetitive like strain injuries.
Well, that's that was a worry of mine because Paul Howlett, a guy that I coached for the spine last year, he, I mean, his training was absolutely like spot on. He did every single thing that I planned for him. He did, and I thought that he was probably one of the most prepared people there. But he got to Burness and couldn't get any further because both of his Achilles were playing up so much. And I kind of kicked myself and thought, yeah, probably the thing that was missing from his training. And he said this that, he'd said that he'd been doing bits of gym work and stuff, but really, he probably should have been doing really specific like dips and stuff like that. Because when you're like, if you're constantly climbing with a pack
Yeah.
on, got a big heavy pack on and you can't constantly going up and down climbs and everything, it takes its toll on you. If your calves aren't used to the hammer, and if you're just doing like road miles and stuff, not that he did road mile, he was up in the Lake District all the time. So, but yeah, he's back again. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he does anyway, as well. Hopefully, I'll get around the route as well.
Yeah, no, hopefully we will. I'm sure
I
we will.
hope. Right. How's my signal? Is it still good? You hear
Yeah,
me?
yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So the actual race then, how did the actual race go then, the Cheviot?
It went really well. We both set off like Simon and I. We both set off like fairly like quick up the first hill, and we stayed together maybe for I don't know an hour or a little bit longer. Well, say we stayed together like we were in sort of 10 meters of each other, and then like I've raced against Simon before on the Dragon's Back, and I know that he is quite an aggressive racer. So I was hoping that the same thing might happen in the Cheviot Goat as what happened in the Dragon's Back, that he possibly went out a little bit too hard, and I might catch him in the latter stages. Like I've got a bit more of a conservative approach than what he has, and so I was quite happy to let him go, thinking that I might see him again in a few hours' time. But honestly, hats off to him. Like he really was able to maintain that gap the whole race. I think I clawed back maybe 10 minutes or so, like towards the end of the race. But no, it was brilliant. It was really the first 20 miles were really quick, and like the tracks were like they were proper like kind of fire roads, and or there was a good amount of fire roads, a good amount of like sort of hard packed trails. So it was quick going on that. But once we hit that first checkpoint, thereafter things got like underfoot got really really tough. Like the bogs weren't, and you might have heard this already, but the bogs weren't completely frozen. There's like a layer of maybe an inch and a half of ice on top, and you'd just be like running along, and then you'd go through and you'd be up to your knee in the bog, and you'd smash your shins as well on the ice. So it was really really hard work. And there were a few sections where it dropped a little bit lower, so it was even boggier there, and you had the snow to contend with, and then you had the bog to contend with. Um, and it made for quite a long, tough day out. But again, like I say, for me, it was predominantly about like seeing this as like a good training run for the spine, and I don't think could have really had much better training conditions for the spine than what we had there. There were no slabs to run on though, unfortunately. Like they were all snowed over. So, but yeah, on the whole, it went really, really well. I was just really happy to get to the end, and like I say, I was feeling like pretty good at the end of it. And I was really, really happy about that bit. And then the recovery thereafter has also been good. So, but as far as a race goes, it's phenomenal. It's really good. I definitely think it's one that should be on people's to-do list if they've got the opportunity to do it.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I know it's one that I was saying this to Simon. I was just saying, is it something you feel like you've got to do before you do the spine, just to if you. But then he's done the spine before, hasn't he? So he did the spine in 2020, didn't he?
Yeah,
So
but he's done this a few times. He'd done the goat as well a few times.
yeah, yeah. So he knows the route, doesn't he? But do you feel like it's sort of kind of like non-negotiable that you've had to do that in preparation for the spine, or do you think that you'd have been happy to have sort of, if you'd missed it, to be okay to miss it, or is it a definite you got?
It's hard to say because I've thought about this like over the last week or so. So if I look back at my training before I started tapering off for the goat, I was pretty consistent like with my training, and then I had to taper off for the goat. So obviously drop the mileage, let my body rest a little bit, I suppose, like going into the taper. Then went relatively quite hard on the goat, then resting afterwards. So the impact of the goat is probably like, I don't know, it has an impact across say 4 weeks of training.
Mm,
Um, so I don't necessarily think that it's a must-do kind of thing for the spine. Um, it was a brilliant thing to do to kind of test where things were at, but I think there's better ways of probably prepping for the spine and not having as much of an impact on your
mm,
training. It was only 6 weeks before the spine, so it was a little bit of a risk doing it. And I was really hoping to like that there were no injuries or anything came out of the back of it because training's been going relatively quite well for the last sort of 6 months or so. So yeah, I certainly think it's a great race to do in preparation for the spine, but because of its proximity to the spine, it's sort of one of those which you could probably get away with definitely not doing as well.
mm. But then I suppose there's always the danger in there of, you could trip over in normal training anyway, couldn't you, and injure yourself
Yeah,
and be
yeah.
suffered in that way as well. So I suppose you can't really live your life thinking that stuff's gonna potentially screw up your training. You just got to go for
No.
it. Yeah.
But it is that impact across like say a 4 week period. I think that's the
Not
bit.
the mileage.
So I don't know. Yeah. I'm hoping that I can just kind of have a really solid 3 weeks now before the spine. Um, and really kind of peak fitness wise over the next 3 weeks, and then just hopefully take it easy then for a couple of weeks beforehand,
Yeah.
and go into the spine feeling really strong and good.
What does training look like then for the next 3 weeks up to the end of the year? Then have you got it specifically mapped out exactly what you're doing?
Yeah, like but it's nothing groundbreaking necessarily. It's just um I'll have like two kind of key sessions within the week. I still I still do like quite a lot of hill running, just to try and like work on the strength in my legs. So I've been doing those like religiously, like every week for the last 6 months or so. So I'll have one of those to do each week. Then I also keep doing speed sessions. So still just trying to like improve that kind of running economy and like just my overall fitness, do one of those every week. And then every weekend too, for the last probably 4 months, has been like just big back-to-back days. Or I say big, like maybe 20-25 miles, like back-to-back days. And I've got like I'll probably go do a 30, maybe 35 mile the week after next, like in the run up to Christmas. And I might just be able to get, because my family, they all live up in Yorkshire, like pretty much on the Pennine Way. So I might be able to get like a long recce run too of the sort of southernmost bits of the Pennine Way. And so that's what it'll look like. It's just, and then just eat really easy runs like all around that. So yeah, just as many hours as I can, give or take, and then also just trying to keep the gym sessions in there and eating a lot of food around that, and everything else as well, and trying to get sleep too.
Yeah, sleep's one of those things that I always say to to my wife. It's like if I could buy sleep, I would buy sleep. If it's somebody, like I don't know, it'd have to be a reasonable price, obviously, but
Yeah,
five.
just buy some. Well, the fact that we're doing this, it's nearly what 8:30 on a Monday night, and I'm gonna end up going to bed like in another hour, and I'll still be pretty wired, I think.
Yeah, I've really suffered over the last couple of weeks because Kate loves watching I'm a Celebrity, and she's been watching that. So it's kept like she stays up later. So I've over the years, I've always been like an early bird, going to bed early, getting up early and doing stuff. And she's
Yeah.
always been a night owl. But over the years, I've like slowly like dragged her bedtime back slowly. So that she's starting to go to bed at the same time as me, but she's like stay purposely staying up later. I
Is
mean,
that
if
just for selfish reasons, so you don't get disturbed?
yeah. So she's been staying up later, and then she's like, "Come on, just watch it." And I have been watching it as well, and wanted to see what happens and everything. I was like, "Oh, if only it finished at 10 instead of 10:30, then that'd be great because I can just go straight to bed and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
flat out." But yeah, so I've struggled for. No, I haven't struggled for sleep really, but yeah, there's been a few days where I've been like, the bags under my eyes are getting bigger. I need to sleep.
Well, I'm assuming like you don't have too many more weeks of I'm a Celeb left to go, so
And that's
you
it.
might
It's
be able
done
to.
now. It's
Oh,
done.
is
Yeah,
it
it's
finished?
finished. Yeah, it
Oh,
finished
right. Well, there we
last
go.
night.
Oh, focus on your sleep then now, eh?
Yeah. We're going to bed at 9:30 now instead of 10. Yeah, definitely. Um, so as far as your training's all in place and ready to go. What we do as far as like your taper then? Are you gonna strictly like at the end of the year, you're cutting it off, and are you dropping down percentage wise, or by hours, or by feel?
By feel, I'll just go. I'll just see how tired I am after the next 3 weeks, and I'll just ease off. I think as much as anything, like at least going into something like this, I just want to make sure that my body has had enough time to properly rest. I think it's quite in my head. I think it's quite different to maybe say going into a tape for something like a marathon. Um, the training load for things like this has been like pretty big, and you've got 268 miles to go. It's very different to something that's over and done within a couple of hours. So I just want my body to be as rested as possible. So I'll probably really, really ease off. Like I don't know, go down to like 40 miles a week or something like that.
Mm. Yeah, that sounds sensible. Definitely. Mm. Um, so as far as like your preparation with the goat and everything and how that went to plan, so were you testing out were you testing out new gear from Montaigne then? Now that you're a Montaigne man.
Sort of, yes. I mean, nothing, nothing overly like revolutionary. So, but just testing out some sort of like new leggings. Like I had a new pair of trainers as well, so I tested out some Gore-Tex shoes. I
Which
was under no
ones?
illusion. I got the Cyclone Gore-Tex ones, so the last Sportiva Cyclones. I was under no illusion that my feet were going to be soaking wet at the end of the goat. I didn't have any waterproof socks on, but actually they were really really good. I'd got a pair of trainers in both drop bags just in case like I started getting any sores or anything like that, and they were phenomenal. Like my feet stayed pretty warm. all things considered. I just had a pair of like the Injinji socks on underneath, and they were soaking wet. But my feet, given that it was like minus, I don't know, 10, minus 12 on top of the Cheviot, my feet were actually pretty warm the whole way through. So I think it was a big tick, I think, for those shoes. So that was a big kind of test for them. And then apart from that, I kind of loaded the bag up a little bit more. So I wasn't running as streamlined as possibly I could have been. And then yes, just that was it really. And then just testing out a few different layers as well. So I had like some merino based layers and like a different long sleeve top on, and then a windstopper coat, and just testing those out a little bit. And that was all useful to have a go at.
Is this all new stuff that you've been sent by Montaigne, is it?
Yeah, so I officially joined Montaigne in like November, but I've kind of like had quite a bit of their kit for a lot longer than that too. But it's the conditions, like you don't typically, like I would never run really in like a merino t-shirt and a long sleeve like down in Cheltenham because it's not cold enough. But when the temperature on the Cheviot was minus whatever it was, we set off, it was like minus 8 degrees. It was really good to be able to kind of just do that layering that we're probably going to have to do on the spine. Even if the temperatures don't go that low, we're going to be moving an awful lot slower. So it was good just to test out those different sort of layers.
So if you got any recommendations on gear then, for because I've still got a bit of gear to buy as well, so and I've got the Montaigne 20% discount from the spine.
I don't think so. I've got like a couple of pairs of waterproof trousers from Montaigne. I've got a slightly lighter weight pair, and I've got a really like heavy duty pair. And I've run in. They're not lightweight; they're more of a medium weight one. I've run in those, and they've been like really good. I haven't actually run in waterproof trousers beforehand, and I ran in those expecting to get really warm. And I had full length trousers on underneath them as well. This was out in the Brecon Beacons maybe like a month or so ago, and they were brilliant. And then I've also got it's called like their Xped jacket. So it's a Gore-Tex Pro coat, and I think I'm just going to start and stick in that jacket. It's really breathable. It's definitely not as lightweight as some of their other jackets, but I just want something that's going to be like pretty much bomb-proof for the weather conditions. And I can layer up as much as needed underneath of it. I just think the more summer jackets might just be slightly too lightweight for something like the spine.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Have you been on the? Do you ever go on the spine Facebook group and look at all of the stuff on there?
I haven't got Facebook, so what I do is I kind of do a bit of prowling via my wife's Facebook. So I have had a look on there, and I did post actually something earlier on today because I'm still in the market for a bivy bag. So I just put a little shout on there just to see if anyone's selling a bivy bag. But I'm not looking at what people are saying kit wise. I think it's just there's just too many differing opinions. And you've got people who are obviously like going for different kinds of approaches to the race too. Like for me, it's trying to like keep things as lightweight as possible, as minimal as possible. But I'll say as lightweight as possible, not as minimal as possible. But yeah, so no, I'm not taking too much notice of at least kit related conversations on there. The route related stuff, I'm definitely looking into.
Yeah, it's pretty handy for stuff like that. I saw that you'd managed to get hold of a handheld GPS. Do you get a good deal, or is it a borrow? Is it someone who's lended?
Well, this is the best bit, I think. Well, for me, one of the best bits about like the ultra running community. I think this was like it was on Facebook again, and it might have been in that spine group. Just put a message on saying, is anybody selling like some sort of handheld GPS? And somebody got in touch saying that I can borrow theirs. And then a couple of days later, it arrived in the post, and I've got just really kind, like lent it. Literally, I've never met this person before, and they've just lent it to me, and I've had it for the last couple of months, and they're trusting me with this over the spine, and then I'll send it back to them. So I just think it's a really like, I don't know, just a nice sign of like what people are like within this community. So if I can do anything similar to that, going forwards, given that I'll have all this swimming kit that I'll probably never use again for the spine. Then people can use that next year too.
I think that's probably be a bit of an insight into the spine family, into they've got that reputation. You know, the people that work on the race, like volunteers and then people associated with the race, they're all willing to sort of help each other. I know that, like, with the when I did the North in the summer, and I'd ran out of socks, I'd like burnt through all of my socks. They were all just like got holes in them and like toes hanging off and stuff. And I was about to put like an old pair of socks on that were just like absolutely soaking wet. And then one of the volunteers was like, "Do you want some socks?" And I was like, "Oh, I'd love some socks." He's like, "I've got some spare socks, you can have them." And I was like, "Well, do you want me to like send them on to you when I get my wash them and send them to you?" He's like, "Keep them, you can have them. I don't want them. I don't want them back." And it was great. You know, my feet never got any better, but by that point at Bellingham, but it just having a new pair of socks to put on was
And
just
having
like
someone like give them to you as well. Yeah,
just heaven. Yeah,
it's incredible though, isn't it? But just for people to, I don't know how many other sports like people would do this in. So I think it's a real testament to the kind of people who take part in this sport.
yeah, that's it. You won't catch like at an Ironman race, would you? Triathletes lending each other stuff.
I doubt it. I doubt they'd be throwing. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Surely they'd be throwing inner tubes around if someone needed an inner tube.
Actually,
I don't know.
that's true. Actually, I tell a lie. I think I So when I was during my triathlon days, I did the outlaw triathlon a couple of times at Nottingham, which is like the full like Ironman distance, full
Yeah.
distance. And I got on the second time I did, I got a puncture 3 miles from the end of the bike leg. And I was like faffing around, and someone literally like pulled up and said, have you got a what's it? Can you get those the gas
Like a
canister?"
CO2 canister. Yeah.
Yeah. I said that I think I'd got the head for it, but I hadn't got any gas cylinders, and he gave me a gas cylinder, and I like charged it up and got to the end, and it just about held until I got into the finish. So I take that back. Yeah. There are kind people in every sport.
But there's lots of them in ultra running.
But there's more in ultra running.
Yeah, yeah,
Definitely
definitely
more.
a greater proportion. Anyway,
So what's your for the spine then? How are you sort of feeling going into it? Have you got any sort of last minute worries about things that you've not done or you've not prepared for? Are you sort of feeling confident that you've done as much as you can do?
um, I would have liked to have gone out on the route a lot more than I have, but it's just practically really difficult to do. So I live in Cheltenham, so that's 3 hours, so obviously further south than the starting point, or 2 hours further south than the starting point. I've done as much as I can, right, recce wise. So we went on holiday to Northumberland in the summer. So I've probably recce'd about maybe between a third and half of the course. And I'll maybe do like another 60 to 80 miles of sort of the southern half, like over Christmas. But I think it's one of those things, like I'm not too concerned about having not recce'd it, because I think we'll be doing so much of it in the dark, and looking at the start list, I'm hoping that I'll be able to situate myself with a few of the more seasoned heads,
Yeah.
and just see how things go from there. And again, because of the pace, like I'm very comfortable just sort of using my watch and using the GPS, and not using a map. But yeah, so I'm kind of hopeful that bit will be all right. And the only other bit that I'm still umming and ahhing about is the food and how to manage that. I've not really kind of figured that bit out. So the goat, I did all of that purely on gels, and I don't really want to take gels with me on the spine, or at least I might have, I don't know, let's say a handful per leg, something like that, just in case they're really needed. But I need to figure out like what sort of a good like kind of gram to calorie sort of ratio. So I want it to be as many calories as I can get for as few grams as possible, but it's still digestible.
Peanut butter. Peanut butter
Yeah.
is
Well, out of the jar.
well, you can get now. I've discovered that you can get squeezy peanut butter. So Co-op does like a plastic thing with like a like a ketchup top on it, type of thing,
Yeah.
big, and it's like got extra peanut oil in it, and it's
Yeah.
like more or less liquid, so you can squeeze it straight out of the bottle. So I've
Are you
used.
going for that?
Yeah, yeah, I've used it on. I used it on when I did the summer race, and
Yeah.
I used it on all my long runs. I just literally just have it in my pack, pull it out, just squeeze it, and you think of how many calories are in. So in a bag, like in like a bag of KP nuts, the big ones, there's like is it 1,200 calories or is it 2,200 calories? There's a lot of calories in peanuts. So peanut in especially with it being like extra peanut oil in it, there'll be extra
Yeah.
calories in there. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's my if you like. I mean, if you like peanut butter or not, I don't know because a lot of
I
the
do like it, but I just does it not like kind of get stuck in the back of your throat?
yeah, but you it gives you something to do.
Just spend half an hour just kind of washing that around.
It's liquid enough that you can sort of squeeze it in and swallow it straight away. You're not really chewing on it, but
Okay.
obviously you
Okay.
still get a bit stuck to the back of your teeth and stuff. So just make sure you got plenty of fluids to sort of swill it round and everything.
Hmm. Well, I might. Who knows? I might be looking into that then. I certainly need to. I certainly need to look into this a little bit more. Um, yeah.
I think
I don't know.
I had stuff like on the summer race. I randomly like took with me on every leg a bag of marshmallows. So not really sure that they had a massive. They didn't really have a massive amount of calories in them, but I found that they were good. I tested them on long runs just for a different sensation of
Yeah.
eating something different.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
do love in like daily life. I love marshmallows. The house is constantly like having in winter. With like the house has constantly got hot chocolates on the go with marshmallows in. It's just something I've always like had like a real thing for marshmallows over the years, and I found that it was just like it broke things up. So nothing worse than I mean you'll know this. Nothing worse than being on a race and all you've got is like some like flapjack that's dry and you like chewing it and you're like oh
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
want to eat it. So
Yeah.
just for the sake of having something that you can just put in your mouth and just chew it and it's more or less gone within like a few bites.
Mm.
But
I need something that's yeah, I need something savory. That's the I think I can nail the sweet stuff, but it's the trying to find the savory things that don't I can swallow easily enough.
mini
So
pork pies, that's another thing that I took. Mini pork pies. And they can, the ones small ones that you can sort of just take in one go.
throw in, yeah. At least there's plenty of places to get food on the race too, and there's a few like shops as well en route. So if like I'm really craving something, I'm hoping that I'm kind of going through those parts of the route at a time at which I can go buy something.
Shops are open.
Um, but I've used things like pork pies in the past. Like when I very first got into this, I'd be doing things like the Bob Graham round. I was eating pork pies and sausages on the Bob Graham round. But since then, like I've tried to go for what feels
Try to
like
be
more of
professional.
a scientific approach. Yeah, and because I'd get terrible stomach pains like doing things like the Bob Graham, and I don't know, in my head I was just putting that to eating these things that are really quite difficult to digest, like pork pies and sausages.
Yeah,
But the intensity is a lot higher on those things, so
yeah, that's
we've
it.
got a bit more time to be digesting these sorts of things on the spine, hopefully.
Yeah, that's it. Isn't it? I quite enjoyed just having a bit of a, like a break where you were sort of just plodding along and just eating a bit of food and then just pulling yourself together again and then just trudging on after that. It's yeah, you've got the time, haven't you, for it? So
Mm.
definitely.
Well, maybe we'll just like whoever. Hopefully, if I am running around any people, then maybe we can just have like sort of a bit of a swap shop on the food, and we can just keep mixing it up that way.
Pick and mix.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And what's going to be your approach as far as like racing tactics? Have you got any ideas of? I'm just thinking of like when I spoke to last year when I spoke to Jack, and he was sort of saying that he'd got a sports psychologist and he'd rehearsed that he was going to run with like Kim Collinson and Jack and Damo until Middleton. So he viewed that as a run with friends till Middleton, and then he was going to decide what he was going to do from there. Obviously, when I got told off for saying Middleton by Paul Lee, who is the checkpoint manager of what was Middleton, and is now it's moved. The checkpoint's moved, hasn't it? Where's it
Yeah,
moved to? I'm going to
It's
get
around Middleton though, isn't it? But it's
it
just
is
a little
it's
bit further out.
further on, yeah, and I am gonna mention it because he pulled me up on it and said that I need to mention where it actually is. Where is it? So it's changed to Langdon Beck. So
Okay.
that's where checkpoint 3 is, Langdon Beck. It's not Middleton, it's Langdon Beck.
Langdon Beck. Right. I'll remember that. So when I'm running into Middleton, that I'll remember that it's not quite there then.
Yeah. Well, actually, I suppose you're going to miss out on because at Middleton there's the shops there, you see, and the chip shop and everything. So people used to come up into Middleton before going to the checkpoint and go into the shop and go to the chip shop and stuff. So now the route doesn't go up into Middleton; it just turns left and goes straight onto the Pennine Way and goes along the river. So you don't get to go into and go to those shops. So
Ah,
if
okay, okay.
you're planning on having a stop in one of the shops there, you can do it. You just got to run up a hill to the shop and then back down again.
I think
So
I'll be trying as much as possible to stick as close to the actual route as I can. I definitely don't want to be um, wasting
adding
any time.
miles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
going off the route. But
Mm.
as far as the strategy goes, it's given like the field that we've got this year. Um, I'm going to try not go out too quick. I don't think. Try keep whoever's like if anybody wants to blast off and really hammer themselves from the off, like then I won't be going with them. But if I think we've got like a quite a good stable core of people who are just going at a decent pace,
Mm.
and I'm thinking like the people who've probably done this before and done this quite successfully before, sticking with them, I typically like have found I can maintain a pace quite well, and I usually can maintain that for a long time.
Mm.
Um, so I'd be hoping that the second half of the race, or maybe into that last sort of, I don't know, the last 100 miles or so, is maybe where I can open things up a little bit. But we'll see. I think it's such a long race that it's hard to have proper tactics around it. But I'll certainly be trying to push myself as much as I can across the full thing. I don't mean effort wise. I just mean in terms of trying to trying to get out of it what I hope I can get out of it.
It's crazy to think that you're breaking down a race into
Yeah,
the
100
last
mile
100 miles.
chunks. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is, but that's what we're in, isn't it? Um,
Yeah.
but I did the Northern Traverse, like when you and I last spoke. I did the Northern Traverse, and that was 180 miles. Um, I learned like quite a few bits and pieces from having done that. And so I'm hoping that I can again just learn from that and bring it into the spine, because I didn't sleep during the non-traverse, and I need to sleep during the spine. So it's just a case of figuring those
Mm.
bits and pieces out, looking after my feet a lot better than what I did on the non-traverse. The eating bit was fine on that, so I can, but I just got very fed up with the food that I had. But pace wise and all that sort of strategy went really well on the non-traverse. So if I can emulate that again, I think it'd be good.
What are you thinking about your feet then? Is this what's brought on the Gore-Tex? So are they ones with built-in gaiters and everything then
Yeah, so
those
they've
ones?
got I've got I've got those if it's cold. That's what I've got those for, because I am going for waterproof socks, like the knee length waterproof socks, just to try and keep my feet dry. I found in the Northern Traverse that when my feet did get really quite wet, it was once we got beyond like 100 miles, that was when they really started to deteriorate quite quickly. So I'm going to try and keep them as dry as I can. If it's really cold, I think I'm going to wear the Gore-Tex Cyclones, just because they're great additional bit of insulation. If it's not cold, I'm just going to go for, I think I'll probably wear the Mutants, and wear those, and they'll drain really well. The water should help keep my feet a little bit cooler. So yeah, we'll see. But I'm certainly going to go for waterproof socks.
Yeah. Do you go through a layering system with them as well, or you just go straight
No,
for?
just tape my feet up. I've got some like my coat powder, which is like sort of what the Marines wear on their, or they like it's like a talcum powder, but with a bit of extra zinc in it. So I put that in my socks, and then that'll be it.
Fair enough. And what other sort of kit do you think you're gonna have as necessity with you? You sort of solve the issue of like how much gear you're going to have and be carrying and what combination of it. So you go for a pack. What pack are you using? It's big enough for everything.
Pack wise, I'm not sure on yet. I'm not 100% sure on that bit, but I'll certainly be going for something that's I can keep as light as possible. So something that's probably like 20 to 25 liters. I've got a few different options. And then I'm going to wear like more of a waist belt rather than a bum bag, just so that I can put more in it. I think with the bum bags, you're a little bit limited to how much you can put in them and where that weight's distributed. So with a band, you can distribute the weight all around your body, and it's easy then just to stuff it underneath your coat and access whatever you need. So that's what I'm going to go for, at least around the waist.
Did
And then yeah,
Montaigne do one? Did Montaigne do one of them? Did
no,
Montaigne do one of them? No.
unfortunately not. No, or at least not at the moment. But they do the what they call the way not what they called. We've just been talking about the bum bag type things.
Funny.
Yeah, they do those, and I think they do a 3 liter version and a bigger version than that. But I don't really like the sort of the belt feel to them and how it all like pulls quite tight in on the front. Just doesn't work quite well for me. So I'm going to go for more of like that distributed weight right with a belt. And then the other kind of key bit of kit is just the poles. And just I use the Lecky poles. And yeah, they'll be with me the whole way. Apart from that, I think it's just the standard really, like what we've got on the mandatory kit.
The, the massive
Yeah,
list.
the big mandatory kit, my 3 poo bags, and then I'll have loads of stuff then in my drop bag.
What about sleeping bag? Have you got that all dialed in?
Yeah, so I've got a really lightweight Thermarest. I think it's the Thermarest Hyperion sleeping bag. I managed to find it like in a really good sale. So I've gone as lightweight as I could possibly go for.
What does that weigh?
500 grams, I think.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then the like a Thermarest Uberlight sleeping mat. So that packs down to nothing. And so I just need to sort out my bivy now. That's the last bit of kit that I need to figure out. There's lots of options, but they just I think given that they've kind of like invested a good chunk of money in getting other bits and pieces as light as possible, in my head it seems like a bit of um, a rogue move just to then I don't know go for like a bivy that weighs like 800 grams when there's like some out there that are a couple of 100 grams on the market. But they're just the cost of these things is just extortionate, and especially when you
Yeah,
don't plan on using them too much.
That's in it. I suppose you end up buying stuff that you use once a year if you ever use it again.
So
I
next
think
year,
there's
if anyone needs any lightweight stuff, like get in touch and you can borrow that.
you have to set up your own swap shop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So no, that's it on the kit front. I don't. Are there any other big items on the kit list?
To
We got
the
got to carry crampons and things, haven't we?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, cramp. Yeah. Are you having spare poles? Are you having spare poles or just sticking with one set?
No, I've got a spare set of poles, so I'll be taking. Oh, I've got a spare pole because I've broken the other one. So I've got one spare pole, so hopefully 2 don't break. I'll have that in the drop bag. Spares of a lot of other bits and pieces as well. Obviously, switch of shoes, switch of socks, switch of clothes.
How many spare socks are you taking?
I've got 4 pairs of waterproof socks, so I'm hoping I think that'll be enough.
Yeah. I saw that somebody on the spine Facebook group had used 16 pairs of socks.
It's no surprise, is it? Like when your feet are that wet. Was that on the summer or the winter one?
On the winter one. Yeah, I think it was on the winter one. Anyway, yeah, the lady put on there about she'd use that many. So I'm just trying to think how that would have worked. So be like starting a set. Would you change a set like halfway through the first section and then change them again at like the first checkpoint. That's 3 pairs.
unless they were
Yeah, it
double
must be like
socking.
changing. Yeah, changing them halfway through.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But you're just going straight back into a wet shoe, so
yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
I think like I mean, I don't know what it's like for you, but like I don't even bother trying to dry my shoes anymore. Like I just leave them outside, just because like everything's just so wet at the moment. Like as soon
Yeah.
as I'm onto the trails, like within literally 30 seconds, your feet are soaking wet. Um,
I
so
think I
yeah,
come home.
that's
I come home and just if I'm like I was out Friday for a longer run and absolutely caked in mud, so I just literally just came home and just stood in the backyard and got the hose pipe and just
yeah,
sprayed myself clean, sprayed all the mud off my leggings and off my socks and off everything, and
yeah,
then stuck them in the house and just put them on the floor and just yeah they never dry out. You just get used to the fact that you're gonna have cold, wet feet, I suppose.
yeah, yeah. So that was why I've gone for the. I don't usually run in waterproof socks, but that's why I've gone for that option. Is just to try and just keep my feet dry.
Yeah, stave it off as long as possible.
Hopefully,
Mm.
we'll see.
Yes, we will see. I've not looked at any long range forecasts, but there's no point, is there? Just
No, not yet. I don't think.
whatever you
Considering it,
whatever you,
huh?
whatever you get is whatever you get, isn't it? So
But last year, like it was only I think a couple of weeks before it was forecasting it to be really mild.
yeah.
Um, and then it was what like a couple of days before all of a sudden this
Mm.
like real cold front came in and that was it. All the forecasts completely changed. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're not going
Not
to
good.
know until a few days out. I don't think.
No, that's it. And it was like horrific rain for the first like 48 hours, like sideways rain. And then it all
Yeah,
turned to snow.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it'd be nice if there was snow again, but you never know, do you? Mm.
I just if it was cold, that would be the ideal for me. If it was just cold,
Yeah.
um, I don't.
Yeah, no
I'm
rain.
hoping it's not mild.
Mm. Yeah, because you get too warm.
Yeah, yeah. 0 degrees would be very nice, somewhere around
Yeah,
there.
that'd be nice. Yeah, 0 for the whole week. Blue skies, 0.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's it.
No wind, no wind.
What are the chances?
Yeah, probably
None.
also zero.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how you do on the race. I wanted to chat to you again because you're one of my wild cards for this year, coming in and storming the race. So I'm looking forward to seeing how you do, and I'll be seeing you at Edel if I don't see you before, and I'll have a chat because I'm sure that'll be the last time I see you.
Who knows? Who knows? Look, we might be swapping pork pies or something on route, right at the very beginning. No, but it's been really nice chatting to you, Sam.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thanks for giving up a bit of your time. I know
Yeah,
time
no
is.
worries. Yeah,
Cheers, mate.
best of luck with the training as well the next few weeks. I'll
Yeah,
catch you
cheers,
later.
mate. Yeah,
Cheers, mate.
thanks. Cheers.
See ya.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.